The background to this webinar is that recent health and safety legislation changes in Australia and indeed in New Zealand mean that corporations must take a far more active approach to managing the risks associated with corporate travel or risk criminal prosecution. To cover the topic today and to give us a guidance, we have Alana Titterton and Tony Ridley.
So you have this personal and proactive duty of officers to exercise due diligence under the WHS laws, and it's essentially an obligation for senior leadership to take safety leadership. Several reports into major incidents, you think of things like BP Texas City Refinery, Deepwater Horizon, the Longford explosion and Pike River. All of those incidents and commissions and inquiries have had reports that have highlighted the need for safety to be a priority through all levels of an organisation, and there's a significant body of literature identifying that safety leadership needs to be led from the top of an organisation for it to filter through. So essentially this obligation is intended to address that need. It includes 6 elements and due diligence is defined to include these 6 elements. Element 1, acquiring and keeping up-to-date knowledge of work health and safety matters. Element 2, gaining an understanding of the nature of the operations of the business or undertaking and generally of the hazards and risks associated with those operations. Element 3, ensuring that the PCBU has available for use and uses appropriate resources and processes to eliminate or minimise risk to health and safety arising from work carried out as part of the business or undertaking. Element 4, ensuring that the PCBU has appropriate processes for receiving and considering information regarding incidents, hazards and risks and responding in a timely way to that information. Element 5, ensuring that the PCBU has and implements processes for complying with any duty or obligation of the PCBU under the Act. And finally, Element 6, verifying the provision of the resources and processes discussed in those earlier elements. And those 6 elements are cumulative in nature. They can't be taken in isolation. If you're failing in any one of those elements as an officer, you're failing in all. Who are officers? It imports the same definition of officer as under the Corporations Act in Australia, so people like directors, secretaries of corporations, and people who can be said to be persons who make or participate in making decisions that affect the whole or a substantial part of the business of the corporation, for example. They're some of the people who are officers. So some of you might be officers. You might also be in positions to influence officers and making sure that they're in a position that they can meet this due diligence obligation.